Welcome back to Hazardous Endeavors.
Woo! Hello.
Yes, indeed. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition actual play podcast brought to you by Digital and Dice. And where we last left our intrepid adventurers.
I took a poop.
Yes,
You
Lindo,
did, you did.
indeed did, yes.
Well, I think we were bedding down in the big old fortress.
Yep.
Yes, indeed. The
Blightwatch.
party, after the ordeal you faced at the town of Wayfarer's Rest, you had traveled southeast down to Blightwatch, which is a fortress a little bit inside the edges of the Rotting Hills. The necromantic magic-infused landscape covered in various undead ookies.
Really? Necromantic? Is that a
You heard me.
technical
Undead
term?
oogies. Got it.
Yeah, all these things.
Technical term there.
Yes. So, upon making your way there, you were introduced to the chap in charge of Blightwatch.
Good man, good man.
Such a chap, almost a chaplain.
Yeah.
I get it.
Give or take.
Yeah.
You were introduced to Varaxlin Highmarch. Ha 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 ha! Yes, an Asimar of very boisterous attitude who welcomed you heartily.
He seems okay.
And was very happy to see all of you there. Especially touting the equipment of the Dawn Guard, which he very much recognized and was very, very excited about.
Yes,
And
he was.
the bracers of Kalendar Brightblade.
Indeed, equally, if not more so, excited for those.
Definitely for sure bracers, yes?
Yes.
Bracers, yeah.
Bracers.
Not bangles.
Not bangles, not gauntlets.
Not bracelets. Braces.
Yes. I believe after having some conversations with Varaxlin, you had all been shown where you can bed down for the evening, although several of you had made mention that you wish to assist in possibly defending the walls over the evening, as you hear from actually a good number of the people there that the walls are assaulted almost nightly by wandering bands of various forms of undead, and that they are required to basically be ever vigilant and rebuff these attacks every time they show up. So anyone who wishes to man the walls and assist them is more than welcome to do so.
How can you tell when it is night and when it is day here?
Well, I mean, the undead attack.
Oh, it's like like an alarm clock.
It also does seem to get rather dark during the evening,
Er?
as opposed to being a little bit more, say, overcast during the day and just kind of being gloomy. It gets down to almost being a pitch blackness over the as soon as evening falls.
Dismal versus opaque.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Eh.
So at this point, any of you who wish to bed down for the evening, you are doing so, and any of you who wish to be manning the walls can do so. So who's going to bed and who's manning the walls?
Well, I'm a little tired, so I'm going to take a nap.
Okay, Lindo's sleeping.
I guess I also bed down. Plan to get up and do something if there's just like attack bells or anything.
Okay.
I plan on being an opening gambit to whatever attack happens and use most of my spells.
Okay, so you're basically anything you haven't cast during the day, you're just going to be like, all right, I'm going to go waste all my spell slots before I go to bed?
Yep.
Just free
Okay.
for all it.
Jaxom?
Well, if they could use somebody who's more melee than ranged, then yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
We all
So-
have our faults.
What we will say then is, Wilf and Lindo, you find yourself some cots, you bed down, and after a little
big
while of kind of getting used to the overall noises of the camp constantly being active around you, you both find your way to sleep. Jaxom, you are put with a group of other soldiers and paladins who basically are part of a stern guard defense for if anything does breach the wall, you are the first thing to meet that advance as soon as they make their way through.
First and the last thing to meet it.
Pretty much.
Dang.
Elliot, you are directed to the walls themselves where there are a couple clerics and a couple other arcane spellcasters. Very much you're looking at basically grizzled veterans at this point. People who are missing arms, people who have peg legs, the people who seem to have been at it for quite a while, but definitely have a good attitude, weirdly enough. They seem to be in good spirits about the whole thing.
people are far more suspicious than the last group of people we saw.
Yeah, and it basically, as the evening progresses and as things move on, you're warned that the attacks will start basically at the deepest part of the night. And as you're waiting, and as like you see torches that have actually been set into the ground, a good 200 or 300 feet out from the walls, deeper into the rotting hills, that people are generally chatting, having conversations, and then almost all of them go silent right about the same time. Look out into the distance, and as you follow their gaze, you look out, and the farthest torch kind of sputters and dies. And then you see everyone just kind of like start kind of, flexing a little bit, shrugging, getting their armor fitting a little bit better. They all kind of start preparing themselves, kind of shaking off the relaxation of the last couple hours, and seem to ready themselves as you're starting to just barely make out what looks to be kind of groups of dark figures that are making their way towards the wall that you're near.
Well, 200 feet is still too far. Gotta wait a little bit longer.
Okay. And, of course, they start making their way forward, and as they're starting to approach the next set of torches, you see them starting to sputter and start to go out. Although some muttering from some of the clerics nearby, you actually can hear them starting to chant prayers to Pelor, and you see the light actually start to kind of flare up a little brighter around those torches. And when it does so, you're looking out at dozens upon dozens of skeletons and zombies and some more undead of kind of like a lankier look with kind of distended jaws, dead-looking eyes. The glow, the little red pinprick light of their eyes almost fills the horizon as the people on the wall start to knock arrows, start to muttering the first lines of their spells.
Yep. Fireball. And the biggest group I see.
Okay. Jaxom, you are doing exactly what you need to do, basically standing behind the doors waiting just in case.
Yeah.
But we'll actually kind of move through this a little bit. Basically, for the next 3 hours, there is almost a constant stream of undead coming out from the darkness and attacking the walls. Some of which even get up to the point where they're starting to climb the wall itself before they're picked off. But for about 3 hours solid, you consistently rebuff attack after attack on the walls.
A bright shining beacon of death.
At one point, as the tide seems to be turning in your and there seems to be less of them coming, the doors open and your unit is ordered to make their way out and clean up the stragglers. And you spend a good hour doing that, making your way up and down the line, taking out anything, and basically throwing bodies into pits for people to set alight. So your evening is, let's see, terrifying, smelly, and exhausting.
And full of fire.
And full of fire. But about the time you guys are ending your ending the shift, as it were, and starting to make your way through, you actually hear a commotion at the northwestern gate, the one you guys entered through. And you hear some commotion coming from that way, and you hear the call for the gate to be opened. You guys, those of you who are asleep, do hear a bell, although, again, you're woken here and there throughout the evening by the sounds of echoing combat, but the people around you are still snoring away, generally having a good evening of it, so you don't really... It's unnerving, but you don't really seem to be in much danger at that point.
Right.
I give up. My gut is squeaky. These people, they snore. Everybody is hitting everybody. I give up.
Well, if you're gonna complain that loud, I can't sleep either.
I get up, I put on my pants because fuck it.
Right.
Yeah, we get up and prepared.
Okay. So you guys gather your things, and as you're making your way out, you see some people running to the northwestern gate as they're opening them up, and you see a short, squat form kind of staggering in from outside. And just as he makes his way into inside the doors, several of the soldiers kind of grab him by the shoulders and kind of hold him up and start kind of ferrying him inside as they shut the doors. And what you see is a dwarf done up in what looks to be chainmail armor. Definitely seems to be wearing the livery of Abbot's Field, which is kind of a little outline of a church with a sun emblazoned behind it. And he seems to be fairly worse for wear. He is battered, bruised, and seems to have what's left of a black shafted arrow sticking out of his left shoulder.
Hold it. Let me see. I can do a bit of healing.
Egads.
No.
You go up, and the people kind of the soldiers stop, and they let you forward.
Okay, someone's gonna have to pull that arrow out. And then,
Me. Ready?
One. No. Someone who can pull it out with one jerk.
I can pull it out with one jerk. I jerk a
Move
lot.
aside, move aside.
Jaxom, at this point covered in various splatters of ichor, scorch marks. Looks like he's been fighting for a while. He comes walking out.
Been having fun there, Jaxom?
Reminds me of my first patrol.
And you see Elliot making his way close to you guys as well, seeming a little bit tired from the activities. But as you approach, the dwarf looks up at you, gives a nod, kind of grits his teeth as you grab onto the arrow.
All right.
And
you.
So the two of you yank the arrow out, Jaxom, and he grunts and kind of spits out a curse as Wilf, you put your hands down and cure wounds and help him out.
Feel better.
He coughs a moment, kind of stands a little bit taller and nods. Thank you.
You just barred him to health?
You're welcome.
Yeah.
What do you think happens when I heal you?
I don't know.
I have urgent news for Vraxlin.
He is out on a patrol.
Oh, God.
What do you need, brother?
I come from Abbot's Field. There are problems. You see, the supplies, the supply caravan was sent out nearly a week and a half ago here for Blightwatch. And you hear some muttering from several of the other soldiers mentioning that they did think it was a little bit late. It wasn't to the point of them getting concerned about it, but it definitely was late. And you would know, Jaxom, that considering that Abbot's Field supplies Blightwatch with pretty much everything they need to survive, having that cut off is very, very serious.
Yes, and very troubling.
The dwarf says, my name is Thangbrand, and I was part of a force to go and find what happened to the caravan. We hadn't heard back, and the road's been blockaded. Orcs, hobgoblins, and ogres. They've blocked the road.
I remember when we used to kill hobgoblins.
I mean, that's a little unusual to have them out around this close to the Rotten Hills, isn't it?
They're only about a day and a half outside of Abbot's Field. They've come from the Ruinwood, possibly, but...
Are they a day and a half outside of Abbot's Field, or are they a day and a half from here to Abbot's Field?
A day and a half outside of Abbot's Field. Look, we don't know exactly where they came from, but what we know is they're there. They're stopping any traffic that goes from here to there, and the unit I was with was slaughtered to almost a man. I escaped, and I've been walking here ever since. He does look completely exhausted.
Interesting. Well, I have some theories about what's going on then. They're trying to cut off the supplies for this place to starve them out. We do not need that to happen. We'll have to send supplies from somewhere else. I will contact Bale in the morning and see if the supplies from the capital can come. And then we will go and murder some more hobgoblins.
Oh, are you gonna do that thing where you make things explode a lot?
I think I will, but I'll have to do it some other time.
Yeah, I mean, like, to them. To the hobgoblins.
Go ahead and give us at least a general location of where you were ambushed. and we'll start from there.
Aye. He describes that about, let's see, about 2.5 days travel from here, because Abbot's Field is 5 days travel out. So basically 2.5, 3 days travel from where you are right now, they have set themselves up on the road. He describes that they've taken carts, they've taken wood from the nearby forest, they've created they're not letting any wheeled things through, and the surrounding lands are too broken and uneven to get a cart through. We tried, but they've sent patrols out as well, and they've stopped anyone trying to get here. If you're going to take them out, they've taken up residence directly on the road itself.
At least they've made it easy for us.
Yeah, we can find them easy. I still think we need that this is an attempt to have this place fall so that they can attack the capital.
That would make sense with the patterns of attacks and that whole advisor being a bad evil man thing.
Yes.
We got word that something had happened to Callanhall, but we were unable to send any support. It seems this. Maybe it's I don't know. You think they're the same?
Yes, I'm absolutely sure that it has something to do with
Yes.
the people in Blightwatch are not Blightwatch, but the people in the Broading Hills is our late, well, I guess he is dead, Grand Vizier.
Yeah, Cavro Seldat? Seldat? He was evil.
The king's
and,
wife.
He's done a lot.
Some
He's-
glares and nods from people around who've gathered.
And unfortunately, he was bribing the orcs and hobgoblins and the like to attack certain places.
Maybe they just don't realize he is dead. Eh?
He is not dead.
Well,
Well,
they
I
don't
mean,
know
he's
that.
undead, but
Right.
No, he's out of commission for the second.
But
he
do
will
they
be
know
back.
that? It is what I am saying. Maybe they were like, oh, hey, I go over here now because I was told to. And then, nobody got back to them.
At this point in time, I don't think it matters. We need to clear the road, get supplies flowing again.
let's wreck him.
And I still think I will contact Bale and see if he can send supplies down here in the interim.
Probably a good idea.
From their starving city.
The soldiers show Thangbrand off to a bed where he can rest, and they can get him some food because he looks like he's been a couple days without much rest. And of course, he clasps hands with each of you in turn and thanks you for what you're doing, and wishes that may the gods wish you luck upon your journey and protect you in your time.
I will
you
let
for
them
saying
know that you
gods.
made it safe when we make it to Abbot's Field.
Thank you, brother.
It's a little bitter.
So, you guys are able to
Just
get a little
blue.
bit more
It's not bitter.
rest throughout the rest of the evening.
Yeah.
And in the morning, you wake up, your packs have been added to a little bit. There are some extra rations and some supplies that the clerics have added in thanks and in payment for your assistance on the walls and what you're doing here.
That's sort of ridiculously generous considering they're
Might be
cutting the cut
starving
off.
to death in like a week.
You will not be starving to death in a week. Bill will not allow it.
Yeah, we're gonna go and rock out, clear of the way, and
Speaking of which, I'm gonna go do that now.
Okay, so you set up a message or a sending? or-
Yeah, sending. So it's 23 words of Blightwatch has no supplies. We're dealing with it, but they need it now.
Okay, is this one that they can respond to?
Yes.
Okay, so you send that message off to Bale, whose response, fairly true to form, is yes, of course, we will arrange to send something that way. Just make sure to. As he hits the message limit, and that's what you get.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's like a tweet.
so concise with his words.
right then. So you gather your things, you make your way out of Blightwatch, of which they They wish you the best of luck. They say that you are more than welcome to come back anytime and assist them in defending the walls, as you have shown yourselves to be warriors of true valor.
Well, we'll see you in a couple weeks.
They will welcome your return. And you guys hit the road.
Riding the little cart back down the road. Oh yeah.
As we are riding, I have been having this thought go through my brain, like, all night. We have asked the question, where did the orcs and goblins come from? Jaxom, where do orcs come from? Do they, like, pop out of the ground? Is there, like, a giant reptilian bird that drops them off in sacks?
I'm going to ignore the question and continue riding.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
Jaxom came from an orphanage.
Oh. That makes sense, I guess?
Lindo.
He seems like someone who's never been touched by a mother's love. I understand.
Lindo,
Wow.
how are humans made?
Well, there's a mommy and a daddy
Uh-huh.
and an orphanage. Usually the orphanage. There are a lot of orphans in this kingdom.
I think generally you see a lot of orphans in this like career path. In
That's
general.
fair.
Right then. Illuminating.
I mean, aren't most paladins orphans? Like every paladin I've ever met is an orphan.
According to Varaxlin, they're all children of Baylor.
Well, there you go. Paylor needs to pay some child support.
Well, okay. For what it's worth, Jaxom and Elliot, you would both know that the vast majority of orcs and goblinoids live in the northern and southern reaches of the Anvil Peaks, which is the mountain range that basically splits the continent between where Dariel and Enrelathan are and where Artemisia is north of the mountains.
Commonly known as Nature's Orphanage.
Right then. Quite a lot of people get orphaned in those Anvil Peaks. It's kind of terrible.
Oh.
Right then. So you guys continue out on your way. You make your way back to the road. The gloominess subsides, making your way northwest. And then when you hit back to the road itself, you start making your way southwest on the road back to Abbot's Field. It's about 2 days of travel. Is there anything in particular that you guys wish to do while traveling? Anything you're working on? Anything you wish to try? Or
I continue to work on my invention, and when
Okay.
you say that it's been enough time to finish that invention, we can travel that role
it will be indeed.
thing.
Yeah.
I've been thinking of this idea. Okay. If Elliot casts flight on me,
Yes.
and then Jaxom throws me really hard,
Yes.
I could be like a human dart. Eh?
I'm willing to try this. Are you Mr. Jaxom?
I could throw you at a tree or a cliff face or something.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
I
That
mean-
seems safe.
Seriously, I don't see a downside to this. I mean, you're going to be flying. You're going to go fast.
I like going fast.
That's entirely fair.
It's like falling forward.
Is this something you practice on the way, or is
Heck
this...
yeah.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and say is when you stop for lunch on one of the days, flight is cast on Lindo. Jaxom, you pick him up bodily and huck him at a tree about 60 feet away.
Woo! Rapier first, with a dashing look upon me.
The wind, billowing your cloak
Levrosa, do not
behind
fail
you
me now!
as you just scream through the air.
And by dashing, that's what it is when he hits the target. He just dashes himself up on the target.
So they got dashing.
Well, we'll go so far. Let me go ahead and get an acrobatics roll there, Lindo. And can I get an athletics roll there from
An
Jaxom?
athletics roll?
Yeah,
All right.
why not?
Is he got advantage because, Lindo's actually flying?
Yeah, we'll give him advantage. Yeah, why not? Just make it happen.
That would be a 21.
Okay, and how's that acrobatics?
A 26.
Well then, so you make this look spectacular.
We are a human dart!
So yeah, you Jaxom, you lift Lindo up, you give him the heave ho, and he at first tumbles through the air and then ends up in this kind of flying, like, just dramatic pose with his cloak billowing behind him as he makes his way through the air and then gets to the tree and then poke, kind of skewers a pine cone hanging from one of the branches.
That was amazing.
That actually was quite amazing.
I'm really surprised it worked, honestly.
Of course it did work. It was my idea. Oh, my idea
Yeah. How was that healing word you had prepared?
I had it on standby, just in case he broke his neck.
Good.
Are you perfectly sound? Thank you very much. Jaxom, it was a beautiful throw.
I mean,
Well,
just humans
no.
break their necks a lot.
You have
You're
an hour
a
of it.
light projectile.
That I am.
Does that mean that you could use 2 of them?
There's only one Lindo Espina, the beautiful Thorn. Only one.
I can only cast fly on one person at the moment.
That's fair. So
That's alright, I've got your back. And you start to fly.
Oh, don't make me. Oh, crap.
slowly, Elliot just kind of floats up into the air.
Why do you look so disgruntled?
Magic loot.
As Lindo, like, Elliot snaps his fingers and Lindo, like, half swoop, just suddenly tumbles to the ground.
Not nice. Not nice. You're not nice. That wasn't nice.
Land
all
on my
right.
feet.
All right. So, aside from that, your travel is fairly uninterrupted, and the next day and a half goes fairly smoothly until you are getting near the area that Thangbrand had mentioned. You'll notice that as you're getting closer, there are several small copses of trees that seem to have been logged somewhat. Several of them seem to have been cut down, although you see evidence where it looks like some trees or bushes have been fully uprooted. You see large divots in the earth where just like root structures have been yanked up out of the ground.
That seems like something that more than an orc would do.
I don't know.
Maybe we should try to sneakily approach.
Can I roll insight on what I might think that might be?
Sure, why not?
I am the most insightful human being.
Okay.
20.
20. Something large must have yanked those trees out of the ground.
I mean, what we could do
Something large must have ripped those things out of the ground.
to quietly approach,
Okay.
so we make Jaxom float, and we tie a rope around him, and we tie that other end of the rope around Lindo. Now, Lindo can move very quietly, and because Jaxom's floating in the air, he's not making a lot of noise too.
You know what? I'm not against this idea.
Are you saying you want me to cast fly on him?
I mean, I could do it if
Well,
you
yeah, no,
want,
it makes
but-
sense because that way he doesn't go kicking when he
It
walks.
would be me using one of my 3rd level spells.
I mean, I could do it for you, so
Okay.
you don't have to worry about busting that because the magic loot can do that once a day. It's a very
Cool.
useful loot that way.
Right, and if he, floats up too high, we can just be like, oh, look at it. It is Galandor, Brightblade, back from the dead, here to slay you. Yeah, I'm down with this.
That could actually be a very interesting distraction while they go forward. We try to loop around a little bit, and then you do that magic fireballs things while they're all looking like, oh, there's a giant floaty orc man.
I wish
That
we had a
sounds like
giant cloak.
Fairly good idea. You two, get closer.
I'll take a piece of rope, tie it around Lindo's waist, take the other end, tie it around Jaxom.
I'm not against this, but you don't look like you like yourself, so...
I have my reservations on this.
Oh, it's a great idea. Here, I'm going to give you a little bit more help. Invisibility.
Okay, so Elliot casts invisibility on the two of you.
And I use the loot once a day, fly on Jaxom.
Okay.
This could be interesting.
Wait, so just to make sure I'm clear on this, is Lindo flying?
No, I am on the ground to
Jaxom
be
is flying.
sneaky.
Invisible.
And Jaxom is floating, and I am going to be sneaky for him.
You're
He's like a really ugly
flying
balloon.
an invisible Jaxom kite.
Yeah,
Yes.
that is correct.
Meanwhile,
So that he cannot be heard or seen.
I see.
So we can continue to be sneaky.
That is certainly a tactic. Okay,
it's a tactic.
so
It's something.
okay, and then Elliot and Wilf, are you maintaining your? Are you just going to be on the cart?
We're going to be trying to sneak around so that we can do a surprise attacky.
Are you? So you were leaving your cart on the road, and you're making your way on foot.
Yeah, considering we can just dismiss the I imagine that the horse is just dismissed. So,
Yep.
so it's not.
Okay, so you're going to
Which way am I sneaking?
you know, leave your cart on the side of the road, dismiss the horse, and make your way there on foot /
You
via
are
tether.
hidden always. You just have to be quiet and walk straight in.
Right. Yeah. No, this is an okay plan, right? Yeah.
It's a fantastic plan.
Okay.
Kind of just tug on my string and make sure Jaxom is still attached to it.
Stop that.
Okay, sorry. I can't see you,
Alright,
so
now we have
and
to
make sure you
very
did not float
quietly
away.
go around to sneak up on like the flank, and then you can start hurling spells, and I'll be my disruptive self.
Sure. Let's stay at least 100 feet away.
Maybe a little closer. Let's call it 60. 60's good.
60? Okay.
Okay.
Or maybe.
So we'll go so far as to say then.
Settle for 70.
The area you guys are in is mostly a few scattered hills, rolling grasslands and fields, and then the road, which the area of the road is mostly flat, and the copses of trees around the area have been mostly logged, so you're not seeing a whole lot of cover per se. There is some tall grass though that the two who are not invisible can use to their advantage while sneaking up.
That's wonderful, because I am in fact short enough to hide in, moderately sized grass.
So why don't we go ahead and have Elliot and Wilf make stealth checks for your approach, and I will have Jaxom and Lindo making their stealth checks with advantage on their approach, considering that you are only going to be heard if anything.
Yeah.
Jaxom, you will note that even though you're flying, you're still shifting around, and every so often there's a kind of a clank of metal as you're flying about.
I assumed so.
Yeah, you're not. It's not necessarily the quietest thing in the world.
It is quieter, though.
And you're 60 feet flying up in the air, so
Something along those lines.
So it's just kind of this every so often this kind of slight echoing of clanging metal that just kind of comes from nowhere.
Thunder.
All right.
Oh, I don't like your face right now.
So
What's wrong with your face?
So let's start with Wilf. Wilf, how was your stealth check?
My stealth was a great double-digit number.
Okay.
It was, in fact, double digits.
10.
Because it was 10.
Oh, okay. So a 10 from Wilf. Excuse me.
Master of stealth.
Yes.
Bless you.
Yes, thank you.
Baylor blesses you.
Lindo, what was your roll?
Oh, at 20?
20. Okay. Elliot.
6.
6. And Jaxom.
We are so subtle.
You know, Wilf's roll?
Yeah.
Subtract 9 from that.
You have a 1.
Ah!
With advantage.
I'm sorry, was that a...
Did you
yeah,
roll
you had
advantage?
advantage. You rolled...
No. I'm wearing heavy armor.
Right, yes, you're right. It does make up for the your advantage takes up for the disadvantage of your heavy armor.
Yes.
So it cancels out, and you rolled a single die and rolled a 2, -1 for your dex.
Yes.
That happens. Okay then. So,
I am sneaky as fuck.
So what's happening is, okay, I'm just gonna set the scene here. So you guys are approaching this basically barricade that's set up across the road. You guys are able to see it fairly well at this point. It seems to be made up of a lot of different types of carts and wagons that have been upended, turned over, as well as a couple deep troughs that have been dug into the ground, and then sharp logs have been posted so that they're sticking up out of there, so that to rebuff any massive assault or cavalry charge that might come at them. They do seem to have set up a couple logs right across the road itself, more than likely in an effort to actually allow for traffic that they're okay with. And you see stationed there what look to be 2 orcs and a hobgoblin at the actual gate itself. And you're not really able to see much other than that, other than Jaxom, the echoing half-orc kite.
Hey, hey,
Who is
limpy boy.
basically at this point, as you're making your way forward, Wilf and Lindo, you're kind of sneakily making your way through the grass, just kind of barely letting the grass itself part as you're making your way through. And you're hearing this kind of echoing metal clanking in the sky that's just kind of carrying a ways further than it would otherwise, as just... It's like someone is 60 feet in the air ringing a little metal bell. And you see the guards are very curious as to what's happening. Although, Jaxom, from your position, you are able to see into their little kind of barricade itself. It's about 60 feet wide along the road. So basically the carts are about 60 feet apart. Inside there in that barricade, you actually see a couple tents have been set up. Like cooking fire has been set, but you can easily recognize off to one side, sitting around a campfire, 2 large hulking forms that seem to be roasting something on the fire. You're unsure of what it is from this distance, but you haven't really seen much in the way of livestock in the area recently.
No livestock here.
Elliot, on the other hand, is stealthily sneaking his way through the underbrush, and you can hear that clang echoing over the fields from somewhere on the other side of the road from you. And as you kind of look up, because you're kind of looking up to see, well, can they see him? And as you do so, the wind blows through, and it kind of pushes the grass down that's near you, and pretty much opens up this perfect line of sight between you, the 2 orcs, and the hobgoblin at the gate, who turn and look at you, crouched down about 50 feet away from the gate. And they stop, and they look at you, and there's just this brief moment of them staring, and you crouch down looking up at them. And the hobgoblin takes a step forward, and barks something out in Goblinoid.
I don't know what that says.
At this point, go to sleep, it's alright, you don't have to worry about things, and I'll cast sleep as a 2nd level spell.
Okay.
At the point of the mouth of the gate, so that's a 20 feet from that point.
Okay.
It's a range of 90, so I'm totally within range.
Okay.
And I'm going to have to roll...
roll to see how many hit points you affect.
7d8 worth of hit points.
Gotcha. Jaxom, you heard that as the hobgoblin steps forward, you hear it yelling out, "Halt! In the name of Seldith the Ever-Living."
Not good.
It has its hand on its weapon, but it hasn't drawn it yet. It seems to be taking, at least at first, a diplomatic approach.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens here.
That is 40 hit points worth of sleepy time in ascending order from the lowest.
Ascending order from the lowest.
Yeah, so it starts with the weakest.
Lowest hit point. Okay, yeah.
And...
All right. So, did they get a save, or is that just...
no, that's what it is. It's that many hit points worth
Of sleep.
ascending.
Yep.
Okay.
If you'd like to inspect the
just,
card,
I'm just
there
going
you
to
go.
inspect the card real quick.
Sleep is a really weird spell.
Sleep is a really weird spell.
Okay, but what makes it weird?
Because instead of it being a
Yep.
Roll
Look at
to
that.
attack or
Nice.
a save versus, I roll a certain number of dice and it can affect that many hit points worth of thing.
No, magic is hard.
Right.
Next.
So you cast your spell. The hobgoblin standing there and the 2 orcs next to him sway on their feet
Fall down,
and then
you dumb
fall down
blighters.
asleep. You do also hear, kind of echoing from inside, you hear at least another 1 or 2 clangs of people falling down. Jaxom, you see that radiating from this point, the one hobgoblin at the gate the two orcs with him, and then another 2 orcs inside and another hobgoblin inside all fall asleep.
That's helpful.
What just happened?
Magic.
So, okay. At this juncture, several of them have fallen asleep. The others in the camp seem to be alerted that something is happening because several of their units just fell down. They start to stir. The hobgoblins are getting up. They start barking orders around.
Elliot?
Yes?
You note that the orcs, when the hobgoblins are yelling at them, they kind of grudgingly, like, slowly get up and look like they're following orders, but they're just not happy about it.
Yeah.
The ogres, on the other hand, like, look around kind of dumbfounded until one of the orcs goes over and kicks it in the shin.
Jaxom, this has gone tits up. Go quickly and get in there.
Boom time!
Okay. What we will do then is, as you guys are approaching the encampment and the barricade, as the units fall asleep and the ogres are roused from their meal, and as you all start swooping in for the fight, we will end for this session. So thank you, dear Digitizers, for joining us for another episode of Hazardous Endeavors. And until next time,
Game on, internets!